Good morning, guys. It's Simon with TRADEnPERFORM Coaching, doing the market preview and trading session for 11/20/2025. This morning, VIX to start off the day, getting crushed, 19.89. I am switching to a 24 tick this morning. Okay, I have the 32 and the 24 up, but I'm working off the 24 unless I see this go back above 20, 20 and a half. Okay, very simple. NVIDIA obviously crushed numbers. Whether you like it, don't like it, doesn't matter. They crushed, and the market's responding appropriately to that. So let's go look at the big picture first of all. Okay, so if you look at this, we're currently trading at there we go. We are currently trading at 25,244. That puts us right here. So that's where we're trading. So one of the things that's really critical is you stop and you look, right? So clearly between here and here and these markets on these days, this is the day we get. So if you look at what's going on, right? So if you know the history and how people responded, you can figure out how they're likely to respond again, second time through, right? So clearly we had successful sellers here and here, right? We're currently trading right above these two levels, right? So the first thing, if I was shorting, right, let's say I said that they're going to fail this rally, what I would like is for them to push just over that 25,300, trap back in, get under the first hour point of control, and roll back down, right? Second, we need some big picture numbers, right? So if you look at what the market did so far, you need to be able to tell your mind a story, or you're operating in an unlimited environment that can be very, very difficult to make good decisions in because your brain can't handle it. So break it down into chunks so that you can mentally understand what's going on. I don't know what this is. We're this. So break it down into chunks so you understand and you learn. Okay, two important components, and you learn. On. Okay, so there's the 50-60 retrace. So the first thing you've learned here, right? So take careful notes. There's your 50-60 retrace. Now, anyone who's in my room for any period of time would know, dip right below the 62, you can't close below the 62, we found support, and we rallied. So if you found yourself getting anxious, nervous, thinking we're in a bear market, thinking it's all going to zero, right? The first thing that you will have learned is that you got to get past the 62 retrace of the most recent swing. There's your double bottom. 1, 2, go. Now you can measure it against here as well. Right? I've got no issue with that. Oh, I didn't want that. Sorry. Try that again. There's the other 50-60 right there. Okay, so what you will learn if you learn fibs is people ladder these things. Okay, there was the first 50-60. There's the second 50-60, and we're currently trading 25,232. So what happened here, right, is if you look as they came in, right, obviously they tried to buy it, failed, gap below, gap back above, failed. So what is this? So just go slowly through here. What is the first thing that this tells you about this 50-60? First of all, it easily gets traded through, right? We traded down. We traded down. Draw the lines. We traded all the way through it. Traded all the way back through here. Traded all the way back through here. So guess what we can do again? Trade all the way back through here. Okay. The balance area for me when I look at it slowly, right? See, this is me just giving, what if I was just talking generally about the market? This has become the balance area right here. Not because I say so, because the market says so, right? 25,400 to 24,400, that 1,000 point range is the balance area. So we're now on the top end of this balance area. This was the attempted breakout. Attempted breakout 1 succeeded, came back, failed. Attempted breakout 2 left an island reversal. That's literally the definition of an island reversal right there, right? So that's another micro daily balance area, right? So now you have several options if you're going to think through this. The logical thing would be to squeeze people over this 25,330, I think it is, to 25,400, fall back in, and then go back and just rebalance in this range, right? Nothing changes. We just stay balanced in here through the rest of the year. Option 2, so we'll have a bullish gap away. So the first question is, we'll know all of this afterwards. Do they fill the gap? Do they not fill the gap? Half gap, etc., right? And we have multiple ways of measuring that, i.e. the first hour point of control will be something that will be very helpful for us to understand which way they want to push the market, just like it was yesterday. The third piece is you have an open retail gap fill sitting right over here. At 25,651. Okay, so those gives you some pretty clear targets, right? We know that they had exhaustion where they attempted above here. So you can look from history and know where people traded before. So we know they couldn't get a back above and hold above this 25.57 to 25.301, right? 25.40 to 25.301. That 60-point area. Once we came down here, they attempted twice. So the next question, so these are the questions I have. If we get above 25.301, can we hold the 25.40 to come check out the 25.651? We'll know by the way that it trades. Failure to hold this, right, brings us back to yesterday's high, which is at 25,000, right? And then if we do the gap fill, like getting underneath 25,000, everyone would be like, they're going to pull the plug and we're going to come back and revisit the lows. And that's not an outrageous call because we still all be in this balance area, right? And then you have the naked volume points of control between the retail gap fill up there near 25,650 and 25,600 is a naked volume point of control at 25,603. And the problem with this is if I go, oh, well, we're clearly going to fill it. So the problem I have with calling it one way or the other is I don't have very many days of data where the NASDAQ gaps up to 493 points, right? So I'm inclined to do very little to nothing, right? And let everyone else work it out and see if the VIX stays low, if the 24 tick starts responding, right? What I don't want to do is shoot first and aim second, right? I want to see how it's responding. Well, the S&P 500 is only up 1.5% versus the NASDAQ 1.98%. Who plays catch up? What I'm saying is today's not that important to me. The more intense I make it, the harder it'll be for me to identify what the trend is. So that's the bigger picture right there. And the most important thing that I said this morning is 25,400 is the top of the balance area, right? And we're currently at 25,212. So we have a potential, if we were going to test the top of that area, all the way up 200 more points up. That's your background story, right? We're in balance. 25,400 is the top, 24,400 is the bottom. It's 1,000 points of range. And we don't have evidence yet because we haven't seen how the market's open as to how it's going to behave. I think Ed gave excellent advice. The best way not to trade the first half hour is to not be here for the first half hour, right? So you don't get tempted, you don't try. I promise you the liquidity is going to be something evil this morning because what happens every time you gap up? First of all, everyone's going to have to square those options, right? If you sold those NVIDIA calls and puts, you're going to have to buy them back, let them close out, what have you. Does NVIDIA hold or does it reverse and the sellers come back in and it roll back down? Nobody knows. They just don't know. Good earnings do not guarantee that the market will go up. Bad earnings don't guarantee that the market will go down. Okay, so we don't know. So now we have the background information. So now we move on from that. Why didn't I do that? Oh, I didn't want to do that. Okay, next. I want to know what worked yesterday, right? And how did it work? So a couple of things. First thing I want to go to is the stars. Okay, so I'm going to look on the 32 tick. I introduced this trade yesterday and I told people about it. And I told you need time to learn it. So I'm going to go through and look. This is Tuesday, Wednesday. Here we go. Okay, so normally what I would say, so if you look at yesterday, I'm not going to go look it up because I don't want to take too much time, but I believe the first hour point of control is roughly 24,840. Okay, that's where the first hour point of control landed. I may be off on that. Maybe it was 940, but I think it was 840. Okay, if I'm wrong, just correct me and I'll fix it. Doesn't matter either way. We broke it is the point, right? It may have been right here actually. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it's 840. Oh, it's 8. It was right here. I know it was right here because we had this white bar down that broke it. I remembered it quite clearly and I thought, should I short that? And I didn't. So it's right. I'm pretty sure it's right there. Excuse me. So first thing, first hour point of control gets established. Here's 930. We get underneath and it's all bye-bye from there. Okay. So secondly, we have a first basic, pretty easy concept, which is when you're below VWAP, right? You're below VWAP and below the 200. Forget the 100, just below the 200 and below VWAP, right? Do the white bars down work? I want to go through my checklist so I can get ready for today, right? So here's the algos that fired. White bar down, white bar down, green bar down, white bar down. If you use the 24-point stop, I believe that survived, but maybe this stopped. This may have stopped. White bar down. I'm not saying I traded any of that, right? I was pretty much like, wow, what's going on? But that's why I can come back and go, oh, well, maybe today my divining rod will be below that 200 or above that 200. Because if you look at the shorts below there, right, below the 200, the white bar's down, paid you consistently. So if I needed to refocus my efforts, and by the way, I would go with 3 bars up because of the range. 3 bars up, white bar down. Okay, you don't want to short it right off the bottom, right? So, and then when we get above the 200, I want to pause, right? So this is where it got pretty sloppy in between. And if anything, right, I'd say, hey, we're above the 200 now, right? We're above the 200. And if I take the algos in the direction this was at 1240, stop, win, got choppy, and I'd probably call that a stop or a break even. But it got pretty choppy in that area, right? If you look over here, if you took this because you're in the cradle, I'd be all right with that. So then if you look, we broke back below the 200 here, right? So you got to see where the losers are as well as the winners. This would be your loser right there. You've got to get used to the losers, right? We now break back over the 200. I'm not saying I called any of this. I am not. I'm just going through and saying, hey, if I'm looking at these trades, right, what I'm looking at is, well, what fired? So down here, I would mark this off as a little frustrating because it just didn't give you the signal long in any way, shape, or form. Maybe it did on the 32, but it didn't on the 24, right? And the closest thing we had to a good signal on the turn was this, and this, and this, and I think that was actually after hours in front of NVIDIA, so no one would have taken that, right? Again, my purpose is not to say, hey, look how great you could have done yesterday. My purpose is, what do I want to do today, right? Right now, the range is pretty wide. I want to use that 200 as my dividing line, not the 100, right? And you may want to have the 400 floating on there so you can keep stability. The next thing that I said yesterday was that the stars up get follow through. So if you traded those, which I did, you had to be pretty damn fast on the trigger to move your stops to break even. Okay, especially if you're using the 24. So I'm going to show you this. Okay, the goal was to use the first or second one. I'm not even going to do that first half hour because it was so fast, it was ridiculous. You just had to hit the button and hope it worked, right? And I'll go through you can go through and look on the 32, the same. But when you look over here, I want the star up and I want it up over the 200, right? So if you look as you're going through, We're over the 200 now, and I want the star on the first or second bar, and it was this one right there. And we didn't get it again. It was pretty vague in terms of where it's set up. Right here. I did see that one, but it was 10 minutes to the close in front of NVIDIA's numbers. Okay, and as we slow down, those stars will show up more. If you look this morning, starting at 4 in the morning, these are where the stars were. 1, 2 on the second bar up, 3 on the first bar. That one stopped because I wouldn't have scaled out. It was under the 100, but you had the idea that it was going to go higher. And there's one more in here somewhere that was really good. That one right there. And you could have actually traded it. It wasn't all that fast at 7:30 on this particular day. So I'm looking for those stars on the turn. I'm looking to trade in the direction. I'm looking for my algos in the direction. Okay, and if you go through the 32, which is what you should have been on yesterday, especially if you're not massively fast on the keys, and you'll see in that same area, even on the 32 tick, you'll see in overnight the volume bars, which is what those stars are denoting, the strong volume, are still firing off. But if you look over here on the 32 tick, so this is yesterday morning, right? White bar down, is it the same chart? Yeah, they're showing up at the same place. White bar down. Trying to see if we got any stars show up over here. Let me go through really quick. This was underneath. I wouldn't have taken it. Star stuffed when we're underneath seems to be working well. I'm not taking it yet. I don't have enough confidence. Over the 100, second bar up on the turn. And then second bar up on the turn over here at 12:30. There had to be one right at the last hour because I saw it. There it is. 12:51. Star up over the 200. It's here somewhere. Maybe I fantasized it. Oh, there it is. It was late in the day. Sorry, same thing, same area. Okay, so again, the white bar's on the turn, but there's another issue before I switch gears here for a second, right? There's another issue, and it's a pretty important issue. Okay, congratulations. Everyone seemed to absorb the day really, really well yesterday. That is fantastic. Okay. I didn't hear from anyone that's like, oh my gosh, it's a crushing day, I'm getting smoked. It'd be very easy to go on tilt when the market's moving that fast and that wide. Like, I'm gonna give you an example. Even though I know on the 24 tick, when we got underneath that first hour point of control and we cleared underneath the 200 over here, even though I know that's bearish, I couldn't bring my mind to be bearish in here. I just couldn't. Right now, that can be criticized, questioned, asked, all that stuff. I'm all right with that. Okay? But I'm just telling you, it is hard to flip your mind from we're up 400 and then go and convince yourself we're going to roll back down 400. It can be done. And there were people who did short yesterday. I'm not one of them. Okay? It's just too hard on me. Okay? Next. How would have we known that it rolled down? So I'm going to pull up our magical 1-minute chart. Everyone should have this chart. Okay. If you look at the algos, and if you have the trader assist, everyone should have this, where the double squares are printing, or even if you don't have the trader assist, you'd have it. These double squares, I'm talking about the ones with the orange squares on them here. And then if you look up here, see this right here? From a balance perspective, looking backwards on the other bar, that was your buyer with all the volume on top. That double square right there at 853. If you put a line underneath them, and we lost that 25,875. So the 1-minute chart is hard to read and it takes practice. Okay, it's hard to read because you're not trading it, you're using the information from it, and then you have to integrate how it translates into your trade. But that's where we lost it, right? And then the 840 or 870 where it was, that was the second point of control, right? But if you go through and mark off on these bars, right, in order to reverse what I'm doing is I'm marking them off, and then I flip over to the 24 tick. See how we couldn't get above that? No orthodox close above the square, right? No orthodox close above the square. No orthodox close above the square. This is the last one. See how they can't close above? And as it keeps coming down, see that? They got an orthodox close, but it failed. That's fine. And then finally, it's this bar right here, right? That's the bar at 1140. And if you look here, so look, it was a head fake one time. Head fake one. That's the first orthodox close above, and it failed. Okay. This is orthodox close 2, and the whole day changes right there. And we start ripping to the upside. And if you look, right, you see they tried to exhaust here and here, but this holds a double-edged sword. See how they got underneath, came back up, try to get above, rejected. So watch what they do on that bar. Okay. So see how you have this fight going on? Excuse me. You have this fight going on between this guy and that guy right here. And what they're trying to do is break it underneath. So see how that became a tug of war area? And it was defined by this guy with the double square orange bar in there, and this guy. That's what defined that battle, that balance area. They looked underneath. Again, you have to have a calm mind to see this, or you won't see it, right? When they couldn't get underneath, see, this guy was the last seller down. He's the next lowest seller after this guy over here. So if you read that even on a 1 minute, right? What is that? That is a push. A 50-60 retrace. Push into the 50-60. So when they get above, no backside look. And then guess what? This guy defined the top end. This guy and this guy defined the top end of that balance area, 24,700. So now watch how it behaved. Backside test to the 24,700. And that's where it pushed out from. That is how the market flips around. Okay. Am I claiming that was easy? Am I claiming you should have been long? None of the above until you got over the 200. But you need to be able to integrate that volume information, right? And this is the guy who set the tone right there. And then your biggest seller down here at the bottom was this guy right here. Right? If you're just going to go on biggest individual seller at the low, it's this guy right here. That was your kingmaker. That was your kingmaker right there. That's the guy you had to get above and hold above. And you'll see they attempted once, they attempted twice, third time was the charm, right? So now look on top. So now look how they did it. Take a closer look, right? Go in and zoom in there. See the bars with the squares here? Here, I'm going to help this out. I'm going to go to chart setting, no, graphic settings, excuse me, chart. Graphic settings, chart. Now you can tell which one is up and which one is down. You will notice when you get above that this is a down bar. It's being outlined in purple, right? Or it was an up bar that ended up in a shooting star, right? So your attempts are attempt 1. This is attempt 2, but the volume's to the downside and rolled it down. It was really big volume actually, right? And then now look over here. Up bar, right? And you'll notice that these up bars usually are accompanied by yellow stars. And what they're telling you is once you get above those guys, once you get above those yellow stars, right? See how this guy, they couldn't get above them. They tried. Now you got to get above this guy and see how this time they came in with the squares underneath. So I was at 1410. That was the breakout. That's what it looks like. Like, I'm not arguing one way or another with you. You'll see when we're coming off the bases, when we're coming off consolidation, that those consolidations are broken with up bars that almost close at the full, and they have those double squares underneath. Now, let me tell you something. That is very hard to integrate into your thinking unless you practice this a lot, right? But if you'll take the time to learn it, it's not a one-day learning thing, right? You'll do better. Secondly, the market is moving wide. You can reduce your trade size and still make a lot of money, right? You do not have to trade. One thing that we've proven with the Trader Assist, right? One thing that we've proven with the Trader Assist is that you can trade 10 micros and still make $500 to $1,000 a day. Okay, that means you can trade 6 micros and make $250 to $500 a day and not blow up your accounts. Okay, and if you'll do that and reduce your size, you'll get better at reading the tea leaves and combining the higher time frames with the lower time frames, the points of control. And if it sounds like a lot, right, just remember what it always comes back to, right? So that's a lot of work that I just did there, right? No one would say it wasn't, right? So what does it come back to? This is for people who want to be very detailed and nail their looks, right? Meaning they want to nail the trades. But it always comes back to one simple thing in our process, right? Which is when you're trading, if you will focus your entries, I'll even use the 24 tick, which I know was harder, right? If you will look for two things, if you will look for the bars with the algos on it, once you get over the 200, you'll notice the stars are scalpable to the upside, even in the top of the channel. You're gonna have to practice, right? But you'll see early in the breakout, those bars with the stars on top, when they're clearly over the 100 and the 200, right? Not all the time, so you have to manage your risk. But if you look through here, right? Star, 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 star. Now these two I'd say were stops, right? But if you'll look when you're getting those stars, and then you'll look at where your algos are, right? Let's say you can't read anything that I just talked about. You have no idea where the short is and no idea where the long, and even the 100 and the 200 confuses you. There's a very simple process that you can break it down to. And that simple process goes like this. Break a swing, right? So if you're coming from the downside, break a swing, get an algo in your direction, star, green bar, whatever you're looking for, right? So break a swing, get an algo in your direction. Now, obviously I have more rules to that. I'd like it on the first or second bar. I'd like it to be a green bar, and I'd like a square underneath it, right? But you have to have two modes when you're learning. You have to have one that lets you get to survival, right? Oh, I'm not going to get destroyed. I can trade this, right? So that red star will help you with that. The white bars with the squares will help you with that, and the algos will help you with that. The next thing that helps you is, am I at the fourth channel or not? Or even the third channel, right? So when I look at this, right, impulse move, what you should be able to see is after these impulse moves on the reversal, the bars with the stars in your direction should get a lift, right? And we just opened, so I'm going to switch off to that. But these should get a lift, right? Especially when you're above all three of these and they're fanning out. And the same thing with the algos. They should work. So what I'm going to continue is continue this coaching session, but I'm going to continue it through watching the trader, right? So we are opening up currently plus 1.5%. The NASDAQ's at 468 points. My strongest suggestion to you is you let it settle. I don't know if we're going to go up another 500 points or if they're just going to sell it and we're going to go down 200 points. I don't know. I don't even care, right? What I care about is, A, is it trading in a fashion that I can grab it, enter the trade, and my stop doesn't get instantly wicked out? First thing I care about. Number two, all I have to do to make $50,000 to $60,000 a year, right, is make $300 a day average, right? So let me break it down for you. $1 million is $4,000 a day. $500,000 is $2,000 a day. $250,000 is $1,000 a day. I do that. Million, $500,000, $250,000 is $100,000. $125,000 is $500, right? So that means $250,000, right, is about $60,000 a year. Okay, so all you get to think about is all the times, right? All the times that you traded, right? All the times that you traded, and how that affected in your decision making. How many times did you go 250, 500, 1,000, 2,000 is not enough, right? And what you should be working on overall, long term, what you should be working on is perfecting, like what this should be leading to is going, I know what this looks like when it's perfect. And this is a very frustrating topic for most people to understand, right? It's a very frustrating topic for most people to understand. You have one thing where you go, where I'd say, oh, take the stars up, or take the yellow dots, or take the, the green bar or the orange bar, which by the way, they're all variations of the same algo, right? But what you're really asking, right? What you're really asking is, how do I know where the bigger move is going to come? And that should be a question you should be answering over a longer period of time, right? Like, for example, I would say, just looking at the bar, this guy pushed really hard just now. This trader right here, whoever that was, pushed really hard. Blue is the strongest volume bar I have just in the bar itself, had a yellow dot down and had a star on it, right? I know that now, in order to go lower, I've got to get underneath this guy, and that he should act as support for a push back up. Should. So now I have a boundary, right? It should hold above 21,161 if we're going to go higher. See how they're coming back to test them? And if, and it's a big if, we are going to go higher, right? If we're going to go higher, that's going to have to come back and repair itself, right? That's what's going to have to happen. Meaning they're going to come back and they're going to hold that low and push back up into the high, right? See how someone just pushed there again? It's natural. They're trying, and what that information is telling you now is that you have two pretty decent sellers right there, right? So guess what? When I get above that, right? When I get above that, this little block right here, right? Now you can watch. I got two pretty strong sellers right here, right? Now they just got confirmation. Now I have a double square with a white bar. I'm under the 200 and I'm under the 100. But I'm pretty sure, just looking at that chart, if we get above this guy and this guy again, they're both going to have to cover, right? And look where they pushed into, right at the 400. Now we're above. Again, and what am I looking for when they backside test? I want an algo up through there. Where do I want to target? 25, 253 if they don't push it in a straight line right here, right? If they don't. So I'm looking for them to come back right over here. Why do I know that? Because I know what my algos mean, right? And I'm not trading this, by the way. I'm not even paper trading it, nothing. I'm not taking a trade here, okay? It's just too fast, and it encourages my own personal tilt, right? But this should act as support now, okay? And then I'm looking for my algos above it. So backside test, white bar up, and I would suspect at some point, right, either this line holds and we go higher, but let me tell you what it doesn't mean. If we break this low right here, does not mean that we go lower, because we have this whole support area right here. But my guess is they're going to push out and up to the right after holding those two bars. Okay, I'm going to lower this. I can also see over here, right? Look at my 32 tick, star up. So the first star failed, second star has now pushed, right? The skill here is there's two sets of skills. Can I execute at the speed it's going and still be able to live with the stop? I've already decided I can't do that in the first half hour, so I just give that up, right? I cannot, because I don't want to get anxious for the rest of the day. Secondly, we're up 490. I don't want to be an up 490 expert because it happens very rarely, right? So I'm going to let some other genius who's smarter than me figure that all out, right? Hold on, I want to see one thing. I've got to buy back some NVIDIA puts. Hold on one second. I want to let the first hour go, and I'm pretty sure I can. Not as big as I thought, 193.76, but I'm short. So I was willing to let them put the 175 puts to me because I wanted to add to my account. And so I sold them with the idea of being exercised. But obviously, it's doubtful that the 175s get hit, and that's probably about at zero. So I'll let them percolate and see what they do from there. I decided to take a look. So I want to know, right? I want to know how I can put food on my table. There's two objectives here, right? The first objective is, can I put food on the table for myself? That's the first question. I do that by following the algos and making my way, if I was starting off, to 250 to 750 a day, right? That's enough to earn a living and build an account and eat off of, right? The next thing I want to do is I want to figure out what my exact setups are that work, right? Like that right there. If this was any time other than the first half hour and I didn't want to get smoked, I'd have taken that long. Why? This goes 98 to 22 on 10 micros. That's $400. So somewhere in there, I'd get my P&L on that. It's just so fast, I don't have time to think right now, right? So I can't see how I want to do it, right? I want to know how I want to trade when everything's above the 200, 400, and I want to know how I want to trade when we're in balance, and I want to know how I want to trade when we're in trend down. And then I want to pick out which ones I'm best at. And here's where most people fail. Okay? I'm confident of this, right? Some people do very, very well in trend up. Some people do very, very well in trend down. Some people do very well in balance. Very few do well in all three of those scenarios, right? And if I had to pick two that I had to trade and I had the ability not to trade the rest of the time, I would only pick trend up and trend down. Because, and particularly, I would pick trend down. And let me tell you why. When we break that 200 and the 100 comes to the 200, that's your opportunity to get huge P&L. Like this, your odds of getting 200 points on this trade are like zero. They're just not there, right? But on those breakdowns or the breakouts from rolls to the downside, that's where your opportunity is. This is not opportunity. It may be exciting that the market's up 500 points, but there's no opportunity here. Okay, there just isn't. It's not a, I'm not judging anything anywhere else. It's just gone 490 points. So when I go through my memory banks of how many days have I traded the NASDAQ up 490 in the first hour, I actually end up with pretty mixed days at best and a lot of stress that I don't do well. So the best traders, what they're doing is they're managing out their risk. They're managing out their day in terms of how they want to manage their stress and how things work. And then they're going, this is my environment where I do the best. And then they have a clear plan for leaving a trailer so they can capitalize that and push their accounts. And then they're able to do that push-pull, push-pull. And the problem I see with a lot of traders, and I'm included in this, is that we're afraid if we let off the intensity on a daily basis, right, that we won't recognize when it's good. So what I would suggest and push you towards is recognizing when you know you get paid. Like when I instantly look at this right here, I know I don't get paid. As a matter of fact, what I have to do is constantly scalp in and out of this, right? And I have no chance of getting extensions. What's going to happen is I'm going to get frustrated, right? I'm going to go long here. It's going to retrace all the way back to my entry. I'm going to go short here. It's going to retrace all the way to my entry. These lines are literally moving sideways, right? Well, VWAP just started, but even the 100 is starting to go sideways, right? I want it pitched up. The 200 is pitched in the correct direction. So I get pretty quick weather vane readings, right? If I'm going to short above the 200, I need additional evidence. Write down and explain to someone else what that evidence is, right? Like, for example, if I go, hey, I'm going to short, so I can give you an answer right now. See that 100 right there? I can tell you right now. It's actually this guy right here, pre-market. It's that guy and not this guy. Why? Because this guy is always going to be the biggest volume 1 minute bar, period. And then overnight, I think, though I can't swear, I think that 731 is my biggest volume by a mile. Okay. I need underneath to go lower, 25, 125 to 25, 133. We're not that far away from that, right? We're not that far away from that. I need a break underneath 25, 133 to go lower. Okay. Why? Because that's the biggest volume from overnight right there. This guy is fine until we get right here. And then this guy has problems. Okay, it's not the point of control. It's not anything else. You got to get underneath that guy. If not, they're just going to keep on responsive buying. And what that guy wants to see is that we're constantly above him. So that's right here. Okay, and so until we get out of this range and put up something up higher, or we put in something down lower, this guy is this little structure right here is everything, right? And below it, we can roll lower. My guess is the first time into that 133 and 125, they are going to attempt to buy it. Again, I'm not reading fortune cookies, or I'm not a fortune teller. What I want is to break underneath there. And if I'm going to short, break underneath, come back up, give me my signal short off the 24 tick or the 32 tick for the algo. And I want that to coincide with being underneath, preferably underneath the 200. which I will be on the 32 tick and I will be on the 24 tick. I'm already in the condition where they could break it, right? So that's what I'm looking at, right? That's what I'm looking at. And I know I actually need lower before I go and say, oh, I'm going to be short one way or the other, right? And that's it. That's my 2 cents about this. Econ wise, U.S. Labor Secretary is speaking right now. Let's see what else we got. Okay, we had non-farm payrolls, 7:30, 7:30, 7:45, 8:35, 9 o'clock, U.S. existing home sales. We already know they suck. And Fed's Cook speaks at 10 a.m. That's what we have in the afternoon. Goolsby speaks at 11:40, 10-year note auction. Anyone else have anything else? Does anyone have any questions? Back above the 100 and 200, 100 over the 100 and 200 on the 32 tick. The range is quite wide, and we're retesting the high of the U.S. session, but I believe Globex high is a little bit higher. Yeah, sitting at, here's Globex high. I'll mark it off. That's Globex high. And we'll see where we are right now. The point of control is sitting at you'll see we bounced off that naked volume point of control this morning. That was sitting right there at 25 150-ish. And the current point of control is right here at 25 200. And they're just dancing around it. Okay. And I've got 0 trades on the book. I did trade overnight. I'm up a little bit, not a lot. I just scalped in to put a few dollars in my account. And I'm as relaxed as can be because I have no idea what happens today, right? I know we have to be under the 200 to go lower. I know I have to be underneath this 25, 125 to break down, and I need to let the rest of the market establish. I need the first hour point of control, and I'm just not in a rush to do anything radical. You can see we're dancing right on that volume bar. So we're testing it. One, all that is testing this, right? So guess what? Buyers are here. We need to go lower, underneath. They may backside test these guys, but, and you can see the other thing you can see from the 1 minute, right? We're sweeping 25 235 to 25 145, 100 point range, up and down, pretty quickly, right? Pretty quickly. These are 1 minute bars, right? Ask yourself, put in your journal, 1 minute bars, 100 point range. Do I do well or do I get my butt kicked, right? I'm going to venture to say I get my butt kicked on 1 minute, 100 point bars. I need it to slow down a little bit, right? Or I need to cut my contracts dramatically, which I'm not willing to do because there's also a cost of me just exercising my right to trade, which is the stress that's involved in it. I don't want that. I am going to distribute tonight this experimental 4-sequence trade. It has not traded yet today. These are yesterday. So just so you know how they did yesterday, these are the 24. This is the 32 tick. The longs made 691. Excuse me, the shorts made $691. That's on 10 micros. The longs lost $1,400. So it was a net, let's call it minus 700 plus commissions. And the 24 tick actually performed better, but they were both down, minus 142 and minus 433 for a net of, again, roughly, it was $600, but same thing. One was minus 700, one was minus 600. It was a massive range. That would not shock me. I think it actually did well. The day before it made $1,000. So that's okay to flip off on that. And then this yesterday, that's the star trade, just running all day with no discretion. So no 200 filter, that's this, meaning it just executed everywhere, lost $576. The longs with filter had no trades. The shorts with filter lost $245, which again is totally fine by me. And then the shorts with the 200 filter lost $37. All of that was good for me. I don't expect him to perform great in a 400-point range, and I think I've communicated that pretty well. We've taken out the high and the Globex high, right? And if you just go through and that's all I got. So I don't have to try to figure any of this out. Orange bar up over the 200, but it was under the 100. And on the 24 tick, nothing. And sometimes that happens, right? You can see where they're getting squeezed, right? And you can see how important that overnight volume bar was over here. They could not break it. Doesn't matter if they get under the point of control. Attempt, attempt, attempt. So you know right here, right? These guys are going, oh, look, we held. They do not want underneath. Now, it becomes an impulse move underneath, then resistance back up, and then roll back down. Okay, so there's no reason to be bearish right now. If you want to short the high, be my guest, not my game. And I'll just wait till it settles. I want to see what the first hour point of control is. My guess is we're going to have the most volume early. So my guess is I'll see if it shifts, but I doubt it. We probably just fired off a ton of volume. So my guess is going to be that this, and I'm going to mark it off white and be really big. I'll go back and check it at the end of 9:30. So now I have 2 points that I can measure off of, right? The 25-200, and then I know the second thing that I need is below the so 25-200 followed by 25-125, right? And you can see that they've just been crisscrossing that, putting the volume point of control in there. So I know I need an impulse move underneath. Stage 2 now, the way I integrate that. Stage 1, stage 2 is what it needs, right? And I'll also note that it seems like the volatility is coming in, so I'm going to look for those bars to get smaller, and I'm going to watch the volume and see if it comes down off of that. That's it. That's my plan for today, right? I don't have to be better than that. I can just let the market do what the market needs to do, and it'll all be okay, right? It'll all be okay. Does anyone have any questions? I'm telling you, if you just use April as your model, when the volatility was uber high, if you just survived it, right? If you just survived it and you didn't get whacked all the way through there, you were okay. You made money. Okay? If you insisted on trading it, you could have easily gotten blown out. And the rule is when the volume's super high, it's supposed to get easier, say supposed to, after 10:30. Right, so here we are retesting Globex high again. We failed one time, but you just got to remember how many people were bearish on this thing. Like, so the way you know if the bears are winning right now is you go, okay, I got it, no problem. I need below, and then you have the number that you need to get below, right? And that's how you figure that out. And that first number right now is this 25,200, unless it shifts. Oh, maybe it already has. They did. They moved it. Excuse me. We've now moved it up. So here. Beautiful. Put the point of control on at the very high. So it's actually now has quite the challenge. Now it's 25,267, roughly. So they moved the point of control. We'll keep an eye on it. See how I did, but that's that's your over under now, which is unfortunate because it's right at the high. It'd be nicer if they came down and broke. So now you go, can they get over or do they get under the 100, 200? Does the 100 cross through the 200? Do we get under the 400? And then do we get underneath the biggest volume from overnight? That's your mathematics. And you should be writing this down so it doesn't confuse the daylights out of you, right? Oh, this is the number, so you can look quickly, right? Yeah, I'll write it down with you. I'll grab a pen, paper. Well, I may have had my pen stolen by my daughters. There we go. Okay, so here, very easy. 25, 2, 6, 7, 50. POC first hour. Needs above for longs. Breakdown below. $25, 125 and a quarter. Okay, I now have boundaries set. And be mindful of whether we're above the 100, 200 or not above the 100, 200, because if it's going to break down, it's going to be underneath that. If you need to short highs, I'm probably not your man, right? Why? Because I hate watching people get destroyed as it just keeps grinding up on them, right? Above 25, 267, that's where we need, pushes back, and holding above should result in pushes up and out. Okay. And then what we've done, the pattern has been push up, flag, and break down from the flag and a long liquidity break. Okay. And again, VIX has been pretty crushed here. $19.37, down 20%. Okay, 24 ticks should come back into play, which is great news, actually. I'd like it to stay below there. See if they shift that POC again. Oh, you know what? They haven't shifted the POC. What am I thinking? I'm sorry, I made a mistake. I don't know why I thought that. Forgive me. Oh, wait. Why do I have two freaking yellow lines there? Hold on a second. Oh, I'm sorry. My Globex high thing interfered. Apologies. It's right here. Sorry. I dorked it up. Put me in the dork diaries. It's still here. Sorry about that. And there's Globex high. Now imagine everyone this morning who said, oh, that's the high. We stripped out. Now that was a good trade if you took it, right? But if you stuck it, man. At 553. Two minutes till housing econ. This is open. This is gap, open drive higher, failure. The other thing is just mark off the 5-minute low is the other way to do this, right? You get below that. See ya. So don't forget to revise your notes to 25,199. And if you're not comfortable doing nothing, be my guest. There's all the algos, but that looks awfully hard to me. At least the 1-minute bars are getting smaller. There's your micro trend line. That mean anything, it can break it too, so. ES up 122. New high owed today. You need underneath this guy right here. That's what shorts will be looking for. off that 64 Globex high. So all retail is going to be looking at Globex high going, do we hold Globex high or do we buy Globex high? Right. We got to get under the 100, the 200, and you got to get underneath this 25,258 where you got nothing. Underneath Globex high. 25,250. Back above Globex. Crazy, huh? Needs underneath 25,258. That'll be your first break based on this bar. And then you should have your need underneath the 100, the 200, boom. And it's got to close underneath there, and then that will become resistance for a backside test. Underneath the 100, you have the 100 crossing through the 200 on the 20, through the sidewinder crossing through the 100. Next will be the 200, and then it's got a, what you want is it to come down and backside test that if you're an aggressive short, then roll back down. Then if you look through the rest of that, it becomes, again, it's this guy right over, I mark that off. I got to go lower a little bit, sorry. Man, my ADD is just kicking my butt today. It's, who had the volume? Should I have this right? No, it's this guy. I've got it right. It's 25,133. Okay, so we're below 25,258, right? Now we're coming back to test the bottom of that second bar, that follow through bar, right, into this cradle. 25,258 is now the resistance. And Ed, I wish I listened to you better and used all extending lines so I could find out, but this is the top of that bar, 25,199. This is the bottom of that bar down here, 133 to 125 area, right? And you can see how we tried to hold them there. Technically, if you're aggressive short, you're already short below 25,258. with a stop probably 30 points above that. We're crossing the sidewinders through the 100 and the 200 on the 24, coming through on the 100 on the 32, and you are probably looking for stars down at this point underneath the 100 and 200. Remember, it may not be a breakdown, it may just be a break into balance, right? But that's how you figure out that top move. That break underneath should look just like this. That wherever that high volume bar was, that 25,258, which was right here. Right? And in a perfect world, it comes back and backside tests it and rejects off of it. I may try that if we get that shot. Now we're back to the 24-hour, to the first hour POC. I'm going to look again to see if that's changed. And we're right on the first hour POC, has not changed. We will generally chop around that POC. Did that make it easier to understand the gatekeep functions? Interesting. Okay. Thank you, Ed. Under the 100 and 200 on both the 24 and the 32, not a bullish condition. We're going through some chop. Again, if you choose to trade the Trader Assist today, you got to write down your journal. I decided to trade plus 466, 550, right? My guess is balance is more likely than rollover. I've been wrong before. I'm actually pretty good at being wrong. We're right on that first hour point of control, guys. This was the high volume marker, the 25,328 into the high, that double square, like I pointed out pre-market. Now my guess is we're going to balance between this and that. So just a guess. Again, I do not have my Trader Assist on. I'm just going to see how this settles out. I may run it this afternoon, but for right now, I'm not going to run it. I want to see what it looks like. I'm watching what's working, what's not working, right? My guess is, again, is balance of some variation. Does anyone see something different than that right now? Blue diamonds, star up. Again, those are very scalpable. right? If we're in balance, very scalpable on both sides of the coin. Okay. Scalpable, right? And then you can turn them into trades. When they're above, they tend to accelerate away. When they're below, you've got to hit and run. And I'll be right back. If I zap out on this, you know what happened. House got hit by lightning. The Transformers did. And it means I get power, but the internet goes down anyways. And it's raining, so even the backup won't. Consolidation, right? They're trying to break it lower. Down. Again, under the 100, under the 200. Notice underneath. Okay, I'm just trying to train you what to look for. Under the 100, under the 200. Star down. Sorry, star down right there. Star down right there. Okay. That's tricky because it went sideways completely, right? So they're easier to take in the direction of the 100 and 200 and the sidewinder than against if they're not in support. Again, hard to figure out where support is when you're at 453, but there you go. And I do have my trader assist locked. I just don't want anything to do with this. I'll see it when it resets and I'll make plenty of money, but I don't have any desire to force it to work, especially see that back and forth on the bars. Without extensions, the trader assist doesn't work well anyways. So I can wait to see I see these nice rotations up and down, and then I can go to work. What am I looking for down here if I can get it? Double squares on the 1 minute. Trying to hold that 21,650. We are underneath the top of that bar, but the bottom of that bar is all the way down here at 25,125, 25,133. Okay. We're just filling in volume, it looks like. And we're pretty choppy. And there's a quality, and I haven't figured out how to explain it, but you should be able to look at your trades and go, oh, this is working exactly the way I pictured my trade should work. And when you can't do that, you don't want to trade, right? Like you should be able to point to examples and go, look how it's falling away. Like when Ed does it, he'll point me like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 white bars stuffed or pink bar stuffed, or he'll have his algos lined up, but he'll see them working, right? When you don't see them working, right? Like this white bar down should have extended, right? White bar with purple square, I expect it to extend down significantly, right? Didn't do that, right? So I know, right? I know I've got to be patient and see the rhythm going all right. I agree with you 100%, Ed. That's why I'm literally doing nothing. Then something comes out, they run it up. They just ran it 75 points in a second, right? So I'm just telling you, we're up 500 bones. Just let them work out what they got to work out, right? Somebody thinks they know something that we don't know. So that's what I suggest. Someone said something, someone said boo. Maybe there's a Fed speaker right now. That's a possibility. I forgot we did have one this morning. Bar was at 8:30. Cook speaks at 10 o'clock. I don't have anything. We're just yapping away. I totally agree with you, Ed. I'm totally fine with doing nothing here. I know my good markets, and I know that's where I want to maximize my P&L. And the problem is, it took me a long time to figure this out. Retail guys that are new to the market want to capture every move. I want to capture the best markets, right? I want to capture the ones that get me paid, right? And I want to stay out of the ones that don't get me paid or cause me high stress. Either one. And I think that's what everyone wants at the end of the day if you've been working at this for any period of time. Back up to the 200. White bar down, no star. Off the 200. I'm just pointing out the algos as they're setting up, right? White bar down, white bar down. Why am I doing that if I'm not trading it? I want to train my brain so when I recognize it, I want to have it so ingrained in my head. This is what I'm looking for, right? I want to identify the day type. So we lost momentarily the first hour point of control. Make sure I still have that right. Why? First hour point of control, 25,199. Okay. I have to be underneath that to go lower. I've established a first hour low, 25,160. I know underneath that, everyone will recognize that, hey, we may be in trouble here. And I know from my volume read on the 1 minute, I've got to be below 25,125. All three of those things need to occur to go lower or to break out of this balance that we're in. And I don't have to be in a rush to trade. If you will look, identify, and recognize your best markets, you will bank on your good days and you'll stop getting dragged down on your more difficult, challenging days, right? Because most people trying to pick a direction in this up 500 are just getting the whip around, right? Very few people have the accuracy that we have in our entries and exits. And even with that, I can't do it very well without good entries and exits, right? And I don't know what that was, but see ya. There's got to be some piece of news floating out there. Fed's hammock is coming across. I didn't have him on the calendar. They just somehow he was late. He was supposed to speak at 7:45. Just came across 9:21. The Fed has to balance both sides of the mandate. I've been anticipating a cooling in jobs, and the data is confirming that. So he was supposed to speak at 7:45. So there you go. Coming across now. Have fun with that. So everyone who thought they had the short end, right, think about it. Oh, I've got the short end. It's going lower, right? I don't know how you survive a 199, 198 to 256 or worse, right? Oh, we're underneath that first hour point of control. I'm going to short here. We're going lower and I'm going to stay in it. 160 to 256. 100 points in 5 minutes, 6 minutes. Please be cautious. Okay. We will have this afternoon will probably be easier to tell what it's going to do. And we don't have to be the first people into the fire. We just don't. Patience, patience, guys. Up 500 and change, I think. $540. Four sequence trader assist. 24 tick is up. $70 here. I don't think this is run a trade. Nope. And this did run a trade. The 24 tick is up 482. So that's a good sign that the trader assist is working on the 24 tick. This is from yesterday still. No trades here. This is from yesterday. This is from yesterday still. So the 32 tick, 24 tick is basically up 482 for the day. Okay, again, this is just me paying attention to what the numbers are. This red star traders from today, I think. Yep. Oh, that's so weird. That's not firing. It's firing right here. I don't know why it fired here. Okay, we'll check out. Hey, Sean, something's wrong with the Star Trader. It's not firing where it's supposed to be firing. See that? It's firing a bar early. So we need to go look at that. This is no filter. This is shorts no filter. So that's fine. A little fine tuning to do there still. A little fine tuning. And I think we have to adjust the exits on that. I think we need to adjust them to heavier weighted at the early scales. On that algo. But the four sequence is working just fine. Surprisingly. So I may flip it on here after London close. Trying to still come up against that Globex high. And getting a star up here or a yellow dot or a double square would help us. We're working against this right here. Just nice and easy. Let the P&L come to us the way it's supposed to. You don't have to stress it. What a move. New high of the day, I think, or close, right? No, we've already coiled and gone, brother. That's a new high of the day. We're going up here. Yeah, I say it's too far stretched, too far, too fast. But that's me. Sucks to be short in a bull market. Everyone got pretty confused. Double square up. Need underneath this line. To go low up. Wonder what all the excitement was about there. Everyone get all excitable. Fed's Hammock concludes his CNBC interview. Next is Mr. Cook in 20 minutes. Keep the hit parade going. I'll tell you this, being bearish was the wrong call. If you thought the sellers were going to overtake and you didn't break that low from 730, man, bad call. Yep, I agree. Now we need under and a little cooperation. So we'll see. But I thought we managed this pretty well. Yeah, that's what I think. 200. And there's the difference between the sequencers and the non-sequencers, right? Pretty interesting. Down 535 on one, the ones that are sequenced, 482. Positive. Although one shows down 142. I don't know why this one is showing short. It's not short anything. Oh, because of the anywhere. Do I have it on the same? Nope, 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 nope. Oh, I do. Here, let's change this. Yeah, now we can manage correctly. Be back in a second. We no longer expect a Fed rate cut in December. Now we're only up 500. Geez. That was pretty nasty. 2 minutes of evacuation. I doubt it, Joyce. That guy's done an awesome job, if you ask me. I don't like him, but he's done an awesome job. I'm sure if he does, that's fine. Who cares? He's just going to replace him with the same guy with a different name. Or something. Some kind of barnyard animal, right? It's all okay. Little consolidation. Everyone tries to figure it out. We're going to have the Fed guy here in 10 minutes. We'll see what he says. Hold on a second. Oh, that's just yapping. Joyce. He's just yapping. The market would tank if he sold, if he got rid of Bassinet. He's done a great job, in my opinion, in a very hard position. Coming down to the 199 and a quarter, first hour point of control. Like to VWAP under the 100, under the 200, underneath the highest volume, and we don't have any exhaustion selling on the 1 minute. And that's what I'm looking for over here, is for the selling to accelerate into the low, kind of like this. When we came down here, I want to see either square within square or two squares like this, where the volume expands to get this push. You don't always get it, and that's all right. Again, I'm looking for the squares to accelerate underneath here. I'm not catching falling knives, right? Squares down right there. Down we go. Underneath the 25,199. Just complete sell program. And that's not abnormal, guys. Okay, so if you look how that went down, right? Here's the highest volume bar, right? Which coincides on the 24 tick. Maybe I put it on the other chart. Sorry. Coincides with this 25,279, and consistently white bars releasing underneath there. They're 1 bar stops, and they tend to do this big release, right? So just be aware, 2 minutes till the half hour prior to the London close, they do this big release. I'm really working hard on this. Bill's done a lot of work on this as well. That trade is very, very, very important. Okay, we have a Fed speaker coming up here in the 10:30, and we'll just continue from there. So remember, it only takes one misstep. You can't have a fixed mindset. Oh, we're only going higher. That's in a very brief period of time, 10 minutes, we drop from 279 to 167, right? Really fast. And if you're going to guess on the way down, you are going, and you don't stay disciplined, you're going to get your butt beat in this market. Just plain and simple. Wow. Unhinged. Unhinged. Unfortunate. They let it go. Huge volume there. Unhinged, guys. Only word I have for it. Morgan Stanley said they no longer expect a rate drop, and then this Fed speaker is supposed to speak at 10 o'clock. So, but more importantly, Bill, right over here, we lost the high volume bar up here at 25,279 and rolled down 150 points off of it, and it broke with two white bars down, just like we discussed over here. And then we lost the POC from the first hour, which is now target up and resistance underneath, and now we're underneath all three channels. So no surprise that it's having difficulties. I'm going to go check on how the algos are doing. That one's having a hard time. This one is doing just fine. And this is mixed, which is all fine. Just pure, yeah, they just let the cap loose on it and just see ya. Thank you for trading. Wow, we knocked 200 points off of that pretty quick. Crazy. And that so sucks that we're still in this. You'd have thought they brought it in. VIX had a pop on that. Like I said, you have to be on the right side of this coin or they will eliminate your P&L. They just will. Yep. Now, we just went too far too fast, most likely. You need a retrace back up of some sort. So, whatever. It's fine with me. It's just, yeah. Just stay cool. Would be my suggestion. What a nut show. They were waiting to pounce on those puts, weren't they? Star down. See if they get any traction on that. Pretty easy math for us guys. Under the 100, under the 200, just stay relaxed. White bars down, right? This is hard. This is fast trading, right? Like I said, I was cautious this morning coming in. I'm still cautious. Man, it's so brutally fast. I don't know what's going on, and I don't need to know. That's all right. It's just Stupidville and very hard to trade. Very hard to trade when it's like this. Just emotionally, the reversals are significant. It's hard to get your head around what it's doing exactly and why. And I don't know how to counter that for anybody. And it's frustrating. Now, who wants to trade 400-point ranges? Screw that noise. And straight down, too. Shit. No counter rotation. Just look at it. I would suggest hands off, guys. This is truly ridiculous and difficult to trade. Truly ridiculous and difficult to trade. And they do it day after day. So you had to be willing to short that one break for 200 points. And now you're just going to have to sit there and let him go, okay, we're going to do what we want. I mean, every single lift gets drawn back against. Every single one of them. Like, there's just no two people, there's no negotiated market when something like this happens. They just go. And then the reversal will be the same way. It'll just pop for 100 points in one direction. So you can't bottom fish it. I would not suggest you bottom fish it. See how our algos are doing here. 482, 68, star, 721, 535, 488, 576, nothing, and 345. Clown show. Just total freaking clown show. Shit. Untradeable. You just had to grab that turn. That was it. You had one shot. So I'm going to call a timeout here, I think, because that was just too freaking hard. I mean, all that planning and all that work to get the trade set up, and then it's just in a whoosh in one move for 300 points. That sucks. 279 to 079 plus 300 points. $300. That bites with no counter rally. The only good news is that we didn't get hurt on it, but damn. Totally annoyed. Totally annoyed. Up 270 from 500. I don't even know what to make of that. If I could express to you how bummed I am by this, could not do it if I wanted to. That just sucks. Straight sell. Look at that. That is not a good give back there, guys. That is very difficult. I mean, they just cleaned house. You didn't even get a shot at the short. I am hands off till I see structure that I can identify. That is just brutal. Holy moly. Do not try to catch that, guys. Look at that. One more break line, 25,279. Second break line, 25,199. And then there was the third one down there, 25,133. Bam, bam, bam. Just, dude, no retrace, no backside test, just straight massive drop. So what I'm going to do when you get an unexpected move like that and they drop is I'm going to take an hour break. When I come back and look in an hour, I'll say, this is what my trade is, right? One way or the other. And I'll go, okay, this is what I'm going to seek to accomplish on this trade, or I'm not going to accomplish on this trade, is what I'm going to do. But these 300-point moves just, they don't mean anything to me. How am I supposed to trade them, right? And guide anyone in a respectable way. I knew where the breaks were coming from. We identified them, but just, it's impossible to get it. Like, I'd have to tell you short the low of the day on each of these breaks. That's the only place I came close to being able to get a trade. And then if I told people to short after a small rotation, after a 150-point drop, most of the time we'd get smoked. So that sucks. I'm disappointed, but I'm not going to let it affect my trading decisions today at all. I'm just not. Does anyone have any questions for me? That just blows. The whole thing is given back. The whole damn thing. Flow of the day. No harm, no foul, right? See how our series is going here. Doing all right on this sequencer. 482, 66, 0, and 70. It's really doing just fine. Well, let's see if we get back to our regularly scheduled market. Dude, I was hunting that trade. I was like, okay, they'll get it. They'll backside test it. They'll give me a white bar down. And nada. Thank goodness for our process. Did not get us getting long through that. Man, I mean, just the slaughter of the last few days is unbelievable. It's just unreal. So I'm going to take a break, reset, right? It's all right. Nothing horrible has happened. We're just going to reset. That's what we do. Okay. And when we reset, we'll get it right. But for right now, we just leave it alone. Okay. Is everyone clear on that? Does anyone think I could have done a better job somewhere? Was it helpful, unhelpful, too cautious? The feedback helps me so I know how to moderate what information I'm giving. I mean, we had the location for the breaks. It's just, dang. Okay, thanks, guys. Appreciate it. Okay, I'm gonna step away for a couple minutes, go do what I do, and take a breather. And that sucks. I mean, what a gorgeous roll! Holy cow! Look at that. That's our break, right? I mean, Bill and I discussed this morning. Our break came. This is the backside test of the original break. I mean, man, it would be so good to just have gotten that. Pumped. It's that guy, 25,279.75. Right there. I mean, what I'd give to have another shot at that. I thought backside test, white bar down, and we got you. I mean, I just figured they'd come over here, pop it back. The white bar was just above. I mean, if we could have just shifted this an inch to right here, or a backside test up over here. I know, Bill. I didn't fire on any of it. So I kind of failed on that. Yeah, very good learning. I agree. Hey guys on YouTube, thanks for joining us. We're here every day. And if you'd like to visit the room, the email's in the body